Saturday Social is powered by EA Sports FIFA 23 with PlayStation.
Right, time now for Trends of the Week. The guests and the viewers know the rules by now.
Yeah.
5 trends, biggest trends in the world of football. Busy week this week, Joe, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
going on?
News literally broke last night. So we're going to start there. Trend number 1, Marcelo Bielsa.
Yeah, I saw this.
Unbelievable, being heavily linked with the Bournemouth job. Here's David Ornstein with an exclusive saying that AFC Bournemouth exploring the possibility of appointing Bielsa as their head coach. Now, this has kind of been furthered, hasn't it? There have been apparently positive talks, according to Sky Sports News, which is, you know, a massive bit of news for Bournemouth, who have currently got Gary O'Neill in charge, haven't they? They've been looking for a manager for quite some time now. But the question we're going to ask you two is, would Bielsa be the right appointment for Bournemouth? HP.
Based off how things ended with Leeds, I don't think so, personally. I think he was rock and roll football and we enjoyed, like, you know, the thought of how Leeds was playing and stuff, but I don't think Bournemouth are that type of team. And I think with the managers that Bournemouth have had have been very football based and in terms of possession, whereas it's very attacking with the way, you know, Bielsa does it. So I'm not convinced by him, and I wasn't convinced by him when he was at Leeds, hence why he's not there no more. So I don't think it will be that successful for me personally.
I don't think he's a bad manager. I can't think of a worse option than Bielsa. And the reason is that Bournemouth are doing Bournemouth are doing pretty well at this moment in time. And the reason they're doing quite well, they're playing like Solanke and Kiefer Moore up top. I looked at it quickly. The team with the most tackles in the attacking third is Leeds. The bottom is Bournemouth. And the way they're playing, they're sort of staying strong at the back and they're playing on the counter-attack and they're getting crosses into 2 big guys up top. Bielsa comes in. It doesn't work for the squad that you've got. I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but it is the worst choice you could pick, in my opinion.
Wow.
Okay,
Given the job Bielsa did with Leeds and Championship. And
That's why we get on, because we know football, we understand the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Quickly, who would you choose then if he's the worst appointment? Just quickly.
I'd run with Gary O'Neill.
Okay.
I would.
There we go.
He's done brilliantly.
Speaking of managers, a bit of a manager's theme to this one, isn't it? Trend number 2 is about Graham Potter. Now, Joe and I, we've been singing his praises for many years. We're big fans of Graham Potter. And, of course, he had a great start to Chelsea. But interesting reading this, wasn't it? Looking at Chelsea's recent results, which we can have a look at on the screen now. They've only won 2 from their last 7 games in all comps, and both of them were in the Champions League. So, obviously, you can see they lost heavily at Brighton, his former club, of course, losing to Arsenal. And, of course, they were knocked out of the Carabao Cup. Tough opponents, of course, in Manchester City, but a few losses there. So interesting reading that, and it got us thinking about Graham Potter. And our next trend is quite simply, what would be a successful season? So a successful season for Graham Potter. 60 seconds on the clock. James, what do you think?
I think when it's Chelsea, anything less than Champions League football is, you know, kind of unacceptable. It has been in the past, certainly. I think, look, there's reasons why they're struggling a little bit at the moment. One is the injuries, you know, Kante, Reece James, Chilwell. And those players are all really crucial. But also, Potter's sort of trying 5 different formations. He's trying a lot of things which worked at Brighton. He needs a bit of time to figure that out. And you think the month away would help with that. But actually, all his players are going to go off to the World Cup. So it makes life very difficult. I think he has to get Champions League football. Otherwise, it's a failure, surely.
100%.
Harry, agree?
I think, like you said, Chelsea's always been a team that's been in and around the Champions League, either winning it or competing heavily in it. And I think with the players that they have, even though they are suffering with injuries, there's enough talent in there for them to finish in the top 4. It's just about, can he get it right with the time? You know, it's not the best thing for him that the World Cup's about to start next week, so it's going to be difficult for him to get it together. But I think he's a great manager, and I think within time he can do it. So maybe top 4 would be the least he can do. Other than that, I think it will be a failure.
Okay, both guests in agreement with that.
I think he'll get time.
Chelsea's that team.
I don't know. Because I think it's, as much as it's, you know, the hierarchy previously have got rid of managers, also often the fans want people out, and they're used to that ruthless nature. So I think it could be tough for him.
Oof. Okay. Talking about managers, let's go to Southampton because they've got a brand new boss in the door, haven't they? If you missed this during the week, Nathan Jones, the Luton Town manager, has officially been appointed as Southampton boss on a long old contract as well until 2026. A real show of faith in a team that are struggling at the moment. Let's be honest. Obviously, lost 4-1 against Newcastle at the weekend. Currently sat in the relegation zone as well. We can see him here, 12 points from 14 games. Although it is worth pointing out, they are only 3 points off of 12.
It's tight at the bottom of the table,
extremely tight down at the bottom of the table, isn't it? And that was a bad result against Newcastle, but a very good Newcastle team nonetheless at the moment. But it is a big job for Nathan Jones, isn't it? So the question we're going to be asking is he going to be able to keep them up? Does Nathan Jones keep Southampton in the Premier League this season, Jimbo?
I think it's very touch and go. It's an interesting one because you kind of, I think it's an energy thing here. So Nathan Jones is like 100% passion all the time, like having seen him at Luton and Stoke City as well. And I think that's what they're kind of bringing him in to do. A huge work rate at Luton, gets the best out of a squad that shouldn't have been kind of where it was in the playoffs last season. So I think they're hoping he'll do the same thing for Southampton. But I have concerns. He really needs to galvanise the energy of that squad, because I think it got really, really flat under Hasenhüttl. And I think that's probably why he's gone, because in terms of pedigree, Hasenhüttl's got more than Nathan Jones. I'm going to say no, just about.
Yeah, I think as well, it's tough. The time that he's taken over Southampton, they're not in the best of form, and each game is going to feel like a cup final for him. And I think that pressure is sometimes difficult for any manager to build on. And again, it's just like the World Cup happening at a time where you've just been appointed is very difficult. So I don't think it's going to work.
The managers in the league are just
However, though, it happens. We see this a lot where teams, appoint a new manager and then they go 3 games and they've won. So maybe that might be the thing, but we've only got 1 game to see how good he's going to be. So
is that a good thing as well? I feel like the World Cup for Nathan Jones, given that not loads of the Southampton squad are going to be going, so it's almost like a pre-season.
Yeah, it might give him a chance for sure. Like Luton are a horrible team to play against, and I mean that in like the best way. And I think that's what you've got to do when it's Southampton, because they've got young players and not those big names. And so he might be able to kind of get something together there, and he does have a little bit of time. So I hope he does do well.
Okay, trend number 4. Got to talk about England. Surely, big news this week. The England squad was announced. These are the players that are going to be bringing it home. Fingers crossed. Yes, come on, believe us.
Why not?
The keepers, as expected. I know Jim was singing Dean Henderson's praises earlier. Didn't quite make the squad, but 3 top keepers there. Defenders, again, pretty much as we expected. But there were a few big omissions there, which we're going to come on to in a minute. Midfielders, Conor Gallagher getting the call-up. Calvin Phillips hasn't had a lot of game time, but made it in. And James Maddison was the big news to make the squad. Callum Wilson, again, just edging out Ivan Toney, and then a lot of the usual suspects.
And Rashford as well,
Rashford's back with the likes of Kane, Foden, Saka, Grealish and co. So some top players in the squad, but there were a few omissions, as I alluded to there. So we want to know, who is the unluckiest player to miss out on the England squad? 60 seconds on the clock. Harry, give us a name.
Ivan Toney. I think Ivan Toney's been incredible, great goal scorer, come from the Championship and has held his own in the Premier League. Hasn't looked like a player that is out of depth at all. Incredible, and I think he's very, very unlucky.
Great at penalties as well.
But doesn't miss, and he's integral to Brenton's success and still being in the Premier League for me. And I think very unlucky. He shouldn't feel disheartened that he wasn't able to make the team, because everyone knows he's a great player. Should have made the team.
Okay, do you agree, Jimbo?
I agree with what you said, but I think I've got to go with Tomori, because I think if we generally go, what's the weakness of England? You go centre-backs. And he's been amazing for AC Milan. I think the big reason why he's not made it is because how Gareth wants to play. He wants to play a back 3. I think if they play a back 2, he's not only on the plane, I think he's in the team, but because it's a back 3, he's missed out on a sort of tactical element of it. I think they want to score set pieces, and they want to stop set pieces being scored. And Tomori's that little bit smaller, and in a back 2 he would have been much better off. And I think he's really, really, really unlucky not to make it.
What did you guys make of Reece James's statement he put out, where it was kind of a bit like, I was kind of keen to go, almost alluding to the fact that he probably would have gone? Do you think he's maybe a little bit unlucky because Kyle Walker's gone with an injury, but Reece James has not been taken with an injury?
Maybe I think Reece James's injury might be a bit more worse and might take a longer time for recovery and stuff as well.
Yeah, I think Kyle Walker's slightly ahead in the recovery than Reece James.
Yeah, because Reece James, if he's fit, has to start. I don't think there's any question about that. He's been incredible, but it's hard because you might want to play and might think you can, but reality is we need the fittest players for that competition.
James Ward-Prowse as well, maybe.
Yeah, I think
he's unlucky. I don't think he's been as incredible as he's been last season, but he is someone that for set pieces, I think he's one of the best players in the world.
Yeah,
he will. He's a player that if you're having issues in terms of it's 0-0 stalemate and you need someone to put deliveries in the box, he's the right man for you.
I think you've got Trippier, you've got Trent, you've got Maddison, so you have set pieces that way. And with Reece James, I think there's so much more depth in the right-back position. That's why Calvin Phillips gets away with it, because there's not the same depth in midfield, whereas at right-back, there's more options.
Yeah. Okay. Let's continue with the theme of England, shall we? Because we just spoke about the squad there, but I want to be asking you guys who you think the standout player is going to be. Who is going to stand out from this group of players at the World Cup? Really pop. 60 seconds, let's go.
Bellingham's on my mind, but I'm going to go somewhere else. I'll go Luke Shaw. The reason I go with Luke Shaw is I think he's had a really good few months. He does play well for England. Scored that great goal in the final. But also, we just don't have many options on that left-hand side now, so he's definitely going to play, I think, most games. I think it seems like Trippier's the other option as the second left back, but I don't think he'll use that unless he kind of has to. And so I think a lot of it will be on Luke Shaw. I think he'll play every game, and I think, hopefully he can offer something down that side. So that's why I've gone with him.
I was going to say James Maddison because I just feel like this is his time to shine and let everyone know how great of a player he is. Provided he plays or not, who knows? But I know that Jude Bellingham for sure will be the player that everyone's going to be like, he was incredible. Yeah. And I think plays older than what he is. He's such an intelligent football player.
He's so important in terms of England doing well because you've only got 2 midfielders there. And he's the one who's going to be that box-to-box guy. So that's a great shout.
And I do think that England have got one of the best midfields in terms of talent that we've had in a very, very long time. So hopefully...
I think that's a really good point that H makes there about plays beyond his years, Jude Bellingham. I watch a lot of Bundesliga this year, and
he's incredible.
He doesn't look like a player that is making wrong decisions for some of his age. His decision-making for a young player, as well as his talent, and also how he commands more senior
Isn't he the captain of Borussia Dortmund?
At times, he has captain of Borussia Dortmund this season,
How far do they go then, that squad? What do you think the limit is of that squad?
It's tough.
Anyone can win it.
Yeah.
Anyone can win it, honestly. Anyone can win
Any
it.
team can win it.
It's helpful that. So are they winning it then?
Not any team. Sorry. So there's 7, 8, 9 teams that could really go all the way, and also the injuries for some of these teams as well plays a part in it. So why not?
So you're going win HP?
Oh, you don't know we won it already?
What are you saying?
Honestly though, I do think that we can get to the quarterfinal semis. I think there's a lot of tough teams in that competition, like the likes of Brazil, Holland, Spain. I think it's going to be very difficult.
I think France are our draw potentially, aren't they?
Yeah, Brazil look good, don't they, as well? Let's keep the faith though, Joe.
Yeah.